Hey everybody, this is Omar the Knife Sharp Guy, and I'm back with another knife review for you today. And we are today going to look at a brand new knife maker in my collection. He's actually not brand new, but he's brand new in my collection. As you guys know, in my opinion, there are three different types of knife makers. There are the knife makers that are just starting out, so they're pretty much rookies, and they basically spend their day making knife after knife after knife, trying to hone that one skill that prevents them from actually selling the piece that they're trying to create. Because in their eyes and in their mind, it's not quite perfect. So they just keep at it, and they keep at it until they get there. So that's basically the beginning knife maker. And there are some out there that already have their work out there. Maybe they've got that one perfect knife that they've made and they've perfected, so they continue to keep putting that out until they actually reach the point where they're comfortable enough that their knives can be, literally out there for the buying public. And then there are the knife makers who are on the rise. They've figured out how to make the knife. They've figured out how to craft their art. And now they're pretty much putting their stuff out there. Usually they put their stuff out there at a little lower price than usual because no one's ever heard of them and they're trying to get their stuff promoted. And then there are the knife makers that have arrived, where they've been doing very well for a few years. Their work is beginning to become known, and the prices of their knives are constantly up. And then finally, there's the fourth category, where the knife maker is basically a senior knife maker, and he's been doing it for 30 years and more. A few knife makers come to mind. Andre Thorburn is one of them. Erucus Bloomerus is another. I mean, those guys, they can do no wrong, and they now concentrate on making whole works of art. So that's pretty much the point where this gentleman is at. I'm going to bring his knife out right now. His name is J.D. Van Deventer, and he is not a senior knife maker, but he's been doing this craft for quite a while, and he knows what he's doing. So the knife that you see in front of you, I actually purchased this knife from Blade Gallery. This is an EDC frame lock front flipper with Ivory G10 and Lightening Strike carbon fiber. This is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece, meaning you will never see another one like it ever again. You may see one that looks kind of similar, but it's going to be completely different materials than what you're seeing here. So that's what makes up a one-of-a-kind handmade knife. The knife does run on phosphor bronze washers to keep the cost down. This knife cost me about $401, roughly, right around there, $401. It was a fantastic piece. Really don't regret buying this one. I really love the white G10. So let's go ahead and move on, and let's get to some size comparisons. This is a relatively small knife. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. So this is the ZT-0900. So as you can see, both these knives are fairly about the same size, with the ZT-0900 being obviously a much more stouter knife, a much more larger piece. Okay. And let's go ahead and put it up against, you guys know this knife. How about the Kershaw Knockout? I already did a video on this. This is the LMAX version. There's the Kershaw Knockout. Okay. Let's put it up against the Spyderco Swish Bowie, one of my favorite production pieces. Let us move on to how about the Sebenza 21, which is a 3.6 inch blade. Okay. And finally, the Sebenza 21 itself. So there you go. So it's almost, it's roughly the same size as the Sebenza 21. So There you have it. Maybe the Spence 21 might be a hair larger, probably. So there you have it with the size comparisons. Let's get right into the specs of this knife. Move this other stuff out of the camera. So the specs on this knife, again, the knife maker's J.D. Van Deventer. This is a one-of-a-kind handmade piece. The blade length is 2.9 inches, so from the tip of the blade all the way to the back where the handle starts, that is 2.9 inches. The cutting length, which is from the tip of the knife all the way back to about here, the cutting length is 2.75 inches. Total length of the knife from front to back, 6.6 inches. At the heel, it's 0.90. The blade thickness near the bolster, which would be like near this area here, would be about 0.12. And then at midpoint, again, it's also 0.12 at the tip. So we're talking right about here on the knife. It goes down to about 0.07. The knife weighs 2.4 ounces. The steel is N690, Bowler N690. And again, it's got the Ivory G10 inlaid lightning strike carbon fiber. So let's take a really good look at this knife up close. You can see that black carbon fiber really shines real well. If I could get the lighting better on my... There you go. You can now see the copper wires in there. It's really very pretty. The lightning strike carbon fiber in there with that copper look. Really very pretty. What makes it even nicer is that these screws match that copper sparkle on the knife. So J.D. Van Deventer knew exactly what he was doing when he did that. It's really very pretty. And then the back part is a completely different look. That's what I love about custom knives. If you take a look at the front part, we've got elegance. And then we turn it around to the back side of the knife. It's very rustic. It's just spectacular all over. Really love that blade. Just real pretty. The Ivory White G10 really stands out. White knives really stand out real well in a knife collection. If you've got quite a few knives, and you know the white just pops when you get when you get your knives all together with the other knives in your collection. It really pops. So this is a front flipper. It does take a little bit of work. I didn't realize that not everybody knows how to front flip. That was just something that I just assumed everybody would know how to do. But basically, you hold the knife in this fashion as opposed to holding it in this fashion where the flipper would be here. You hold it in this fashion upright, and you use your thumb, and there you have it. So it's a different way, different mechanism operation than what you're used to. The pocket clip is really very nice. I think it's quite rustic. Again, it matches the entire back of the knife. It's just a simple pocket clip, but the whole back of the knife looks like it's some kind of a to me it looks kind of like it's like the back of the hull of a ship or something. Very rustic, like it's been down in the bottom of the ocean or something, and someone just digged it up. It had like salt water all over it. Really just very rustic. I love that look. And then it's also got the black G10 backspacer. Sort of a neutral color between the two. Really very pretty if we take a look at that. It's just nice. And, you know, really, this is one thing that separates a custom knife from a production knife, is that you really get a chance to appreciate the knife as a whole. I don't think we do that enough for production knives, because when you get a production knife, you're worried about the blade play, and you're worried about the centering, and you're worried about what's the steel. All these things are automatically answered, and they're on customs, and they're automatically there. As you can see, this piece is dead centered. Okay. So one of the things about the knife, though, that I'm not going to make it a negative, but the tip of the knife tends to stick out just a touch. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could actually just open the knife that way. Right? I mean, I don't know if that's something that you'd find either a negative or a positive, but it's just something that I noticed it because it's actually a little sharp over here. You can feel it. But I didn't feel it that way when it was in my pocket, and I actually don't use pocket clips. I put the knife in my pocket, so that's about the only thing I can see that doesn't gel with me on this knife, and it's so minute, I don't even notice it anymore. So the operation is real smooth. It runs on phosphor bronze washers. It's actually the only 2 knives in my collection that run on washers. The other knife I have is the Peter Swanepoel piece, which runs on Teflon washers, because he's actually a beginning knife maker, and probably when he made that knife, he couldn't afford the phosphor bronze washers, so definitely got to applaud him for that. I mean, because, you know, Teflon washers are so underrated. They just don't get the love that phosphor bronze washers do, and yet, Teflon washers are completely durable, and you know, if you look online and you look up Teflon washers, nobody can say anything bad about them. They just forgot about them. That's all. That's the only way I can look at it. So there you have it, the J.D. Van Deventer front flipper piece, frame lock front flipper with Ivory G10 and Lightning strike carbon fiber, handmade, one of a kind. Really a beautiful piece. Very, very happy to have it in my collection. You know, it wasn't. I didn't plan on purchasing this piece today, but it did happen, and I wanted to get something. And you know, when you walk into a knife store that has custom knives, you almost feel like you're cheating yourself if you don't buy a piece. So I bought this one, and I don't regret it because I really love the way it looks. The N690 bowler steel is very razor sharp. If you're not familiar with N690 bowler, it's actually a better version of G10. It's an upgraded version of G10 is basically what it is. And it is a very sharp knife. So there you have it. J.D. Van Deventer. Frame lock front flipper, Ivory G10, and Lightning strike carbon fiber. This is Omar the Knife Shark Guy, signing off. Hoping you'll find something like this beautiful piece of artwork in your collection, because this is a one-of-a-kind handmade. You're not going to see something like this again, so. This is Omar the Knife Shark Guy signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.